Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is your daddy in Dubai. It's day 109. And for those of you that aren't my son that have been watching this, you probably said, well, daddy's not been posting um, his daily videos. But what happened, I actually went and saw my son in the UK. And because I can speak to him, my wife and I are good friends now. And the confusion that was there before is no longer there. Therefore, Sunshine, you'll see that I do lots of shorts every day, which you can also watch. And that's a short format, and it's been really great. But today, Wednesday, I met this gentleman. His name is Shakti, and he's going to explain the meaning of that word because I thought it meant one thing, but it means in a couple of other things. But today is Wednesday, so I celebrate wins. Number two is Sue's birthday, and Sue said, I'm going to film a podcast and I'm going to in Shakti's office. And I said, yo, I've heard about this guy, and I want to meet him. And I would say that the first 5 minutes of conversation were off the charts. Okay. And I said, wow, you know what? I'll introduce him. So, Shakti,
Yeah, pleasure
a pleasure to meet you.
Hello.
Please introduce yourself to my son. My son's name is Jaden, by the way.
Jaden.
Jaden.
Hey, Jaden. Good day. This is Shakti from Dubai. Every name, Jaden as a name, has its own meaning and it's a purpose. And you're going to hear this sound throughout your life, which is going to give more power to you as well as you will be giving your power to the world. Same Shakti as a name has a male version, which is strength, which is visible one. But there is a feminine part of Shakti, which is creation or energy. So when my dad named me, he wanted to keep both the visible form of Shakti as well as the invisible creative energy as well to contribute to myself and to the world. So happy to connect with you and speak to you. Thanks for hearing my voice today.
Well, it's interesting you say that, right? Because when we were choosing my son's name, my wife and I had a conversation, and she said, well, if it's a girl, I'll choose, and if it's a boy, I'll choose.
Okay.
And I said, perfect, okay, I like this. And I remember I meditated, and she was 3 months pregnant.
Okay.
And I closed my eyes and I meditated, and the name Jaden came, okay? This is before we knew he was boy or girl.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so on the day that he was going to be born, he was in a position called breech.
Okay.
And because he was breech, the midwife says you're gonna have to come in to the hospital. And my wife and I went, and if she ever watches this, so your mum and I, she said, let's go for McDonald's. Yeah, it's gonna be the last time. We don't know how long it's gonna be. So we went to McDonald's and we got to the hospital and we sat and we waited and waited and waited. And I thought they were going to take her in, and they just nothing happened, right?
Nice.
And then something inside of me said, you need to go and tell the nurse, midwife, listen, my son is breech. It's important that he doesn't go any further because it's going to be a risk to his life. So when I went and told them, they panicked because they didn't realize, and they immediately rushed her into the operating theater for a C-section. And he was born at 1 o'clock in the morning. And within the Hindu calendar, if he was born before 12,
different start.
It would have been a different day. But the day that he was born was Dhanteras.
The day before Diwali?
Yeah. So his name is actually spelled Jaidhan. Jaidhan. So it's interesting that you said your father named you Shakti.
Yes.
I named you son Jaidhan, and I think it means like great accountant, or Dhanteras is the day of
That's
accountant.
one. Yeah.
So maybe you're going to be good with numbers, son. I don't know. But either way, look, your daddy loves you a lot, and this is why I'm creating this series
Mhm.
so we can learn stuff. Now, the conversation that Shakti and I had initially, he told me the meaning of the word Shakti and all of that, and I was
Yes.
like, wow, this is amazing.
Mm.
And then he took the conversation to another level, right? And I said, we have to record this because he explained about what's the area you said that begins with M in India?
Madurai.
Madurai.
Yeah.
Where is Madurai?
Madurai is south of India in the state of Tamil Nadu.
Okay. And look, what he explained about this area is there has been a process. So there's two things that he shared today. One is, and please elaborate, when you mentioned how knowledge is passed to the children
Yes.
and physical accumulation is
Yeah.
passed back to the
Society.
society. So please elaborate on that because this was something amazing and it prompted me to say, well, listen, the channel I have
Mhm.
is dedicated to give my son knowledge.
Yes.
And this is exactly what you were talking about. So there's no better time to do it than now. So
Yes.
please elaborate on what you shared.
Yeah,
Because
so humans have always evolved as civilization. Civilization has always evolved based on two resources. One is the natural resource, which is like river-based civilization, or it can be based on the cities what we build. Even now, cities actually reflect civilization. So the one of the civilization is Tamil civilization. So Tamil civilization, which is one of the oldest language or classical language in the world, they had their own civilization, which were once a legacy. Still, they are scientific and vibrant today. Why? Because they have evolved with the time.
okay.
And how they evolved with the time is sharing knowledge is very essential for a civilization to continue to evolve, know the past as well as be ready for the future.
Yeah.
Second is how do you give back to the society so that the many ancient civilizations disappeared because they were not able to connect with their past and work for the future. So when as a legacy you take knowledge from your parent and great grandparent, but not their physical assets. Let the physical asset go to much more person who's down to you. Because your great granddad moved from one level from a village to a suburb, your dad from a suburb to a town, you to another country. So you always moved, but there are still people sitting in some places without proper support. So when you have moved to that level, it's better you start giving it back. Till 60, you moved up the chain, 60 plus whatever granted years, you start giving it back so that the next generation comes up, the civilization sustains. So that is why this civilization, if you look out, they are as old as Egyptian civilization, as old as Greco-Roman civilization. But even today, the language is spoken. Even today, you see the remains of old one, and still it's very scientific, advanced. Maximum number of doctors produced, engineers produced.
Well, look, the reason I mention this is because this is new to me. Being brought up as a Hindu, what you're talking about from India is a sect and part of Hinduism.
Yes.
And look, that was something that we spoke about also in the conversation today. And I thought, wow, this is something I'm learning new today after being on Earth for 50 years. And I'm a well-traveled, well, knowledgeable gentleman from the fact that as a hairdresser, I always believe I can learn something new every day. And today is just another school day that I'm learning something that I'm thinking to myself, wow, so son, I'm learning this today and I'm recording it so you can learn it whenever you get to learn it. And whoever else watches it, you get to learn it too. Because I find it amazing that from what you're saying is, because I've never heard of this. And if there is a system, a sustainable system, like you said, of a civilization that existed 4,500 years ago, and they are still operating a sustainable system today. Why does the rest of the world not know about this?
Mhm.
Why? Why does no one know about this? And
Yeah, so if you consider yourself as a social being, connected by something very emotionally powerful, whether it is your language or whether it is some of your belief, you will start trying to make that evolve because natural living being always wanted to live long. How long? Everlasting is the ultimate goal, which every religion tries to help you to achieve. That's why religion is not getting outdated. Wherein every fashion gets outdated, your hairstyle gets outdated, your dressing sense gets outdated, as out of fashion. But religion, which is 2000 years old, 4000 years old, books which are written 1500 years old are still relevant, and you still find this worship place fully occupied and fully relevant, even in a scientific temperament. Still, faith, which cannot be proven on science as a higher science, still have attraction because it works on your evolutionary trait that you wanted to live long, every species. How long? Only the religion gives you an everlasting long. So the similar one is applied on a civilization. They wanted to extend long.
mm,
How long? Everlasting they wanted to live. That's why Hinduism calls us Sanatan Dharma, which means it never changes. It is like forever
yeah,
the same. Similarly, this civilization wanted to adapt or embrace any new changes comes in and keeps evolving.
mm,
So the ancient language of Tamil, which kept evolving. Even today for computer, there's a separate Tamil language for computer. It's spoken in 10 plus countries and ruling in 2, 3 countries. Singapore has one of the national and Sri Lanka has Tamil as their natural land. So as national language. Why? Because they have always exploring the changes and they
mm.
were trying to live long. How you live long? One is sharing of knowledge between one generation to the another generation of experience of continuity, which then genetically get coded and get transformed. Another one is a physical asset. Physical asset restricted to a family again will only breed localization. To make it distributed after 60, your need becomes very narrow. You start giving it to society at much larger. So the one downtrodden moves up, so automatically there is an evolution, social evolution, economical evolution. Hence, civilization will evolve.
This is very interesting because to the Western world and anyone watching this, the fact that you said that, once your father has died and then once your mother is gone, you didn't have access to anything.
Yes, so that's a classic example to walk the talk. So maybe the same thing applied to my great granddad. So whatever he earned as a knowledge, which he passed on the business knowledge and trading knowledge, and the physical assets didn't come to the family as a legacy, as long as the head of the women lives. Same thing applied to our family. My dad, whatever he earned out of his banking career, is owned by the family till my mother survives. Once my mom lives, then the whatever he earned will go back to the society for people who are much behind us. Now all three sons living in three different countries, having our own growth because of the knowledge he
So the
transformed.
so the idea is you get given the knowledge and you use the knowledge to create your own wealth.
Own wealth and the wealth what you earn from the society, trying to give it back.
Wow. I mean, look, if this system was operated in other parts of the world, because right now we have the current system creates, what's the word? It creates people that feel entitled.
Mhm.
Yeah, because my family have made this. Now the children are rich.
Yes.
And you can see how some of the most backwards children are the ones with so much money. When they say, oh, they're the most spoiled.
Yes.
So what you're saying makes it sustainable.
Exactly. So you have to define what is generational wealth is. If physical assets are called generational wealth, there is one school of thought. If knowledge and pursuit is one generational wealth which is getting passed on consciously, then you would give more weightage to that. So up to 60 plus years, you give weightage to this generational wealth. You use the assets and grow your society or home or individual.
Yeah.
After that, yeah, you try to give back and then you move to the next level in your life.
So this system operates currently today.
Yes, it is active in many family. They have a tendency to write to schools, priority to education around it, or to roads. We find many roads are named after somebody who written it property to create some more roads.
So does this go, this estate, you could call it,
Yeah.
once the mother goes, how does that operate?
So if you write a formal will, you can transform this for the purpose in which it is being transformed. Those days, it is not a legal arbitrage which does that. It is like some known trusted people who will maintain this will. Or they created own community centers who distribute this wealth for education, for health reason, taking care of aged kind of.
And this is, we can actively witness this.
Yes, these are all active and vibrant. What I am saying is a real happening even today. Schools are named, or colleges, universities are named after a senior most person who died writing his wealth. Suddenly, the college which was named on something else become his name.
Wow. Well, look, Sunshine, you mentioned an event that happens every year that has been happening for 4,500 years, and it still happens every year.
Yes. So, as I told, this civilization is called Sangam. Sangam is basically intersection of knowledge or intersection of culture. So, even now, you see one of the oldest living university is the Sangam literature, which is still scientifically, historically recorded one. They claim 2,500 years old literature available. That means people are writing poetry 2,500 years in a university. So that means a university existed when people are drawing in caves or clicking in sound. They were writing poetry. For the poetry, they had a university. Even now, you don't have a university for art or poetry. So they had a poetry for a 2,000-year-old called Sangam period. The period is called Sangam period. You can even now check what I am saying. So the capital, the place where I come from is called the capital of Sangam. So that is called Madurai. Madurai. So what to celebrate this festival, right? The banks of the river had two sides of that. The festival what we celebrate is the first month of Tamil New Year called Chitra. Chitra is the first month, which comes in the peak summer of India.
What month is that?
Here it is May. May month we get this festival.
Okay.
So there are two parts of the bank. One is the pursuit part of because that city is ruled by women goddess called Meenakshi.
Okay.
And she marries to Shiva, which is Shokanada. That's part of the temple surrounded festival for 10 days. Then comes Vishnu, who is the brother of Meenakshi. He travels all the way from a hill to come towards this side of the bank. So the festival starts with this side of the bank. Whole crowd goes in the temple surrounded celebration. Then move into this side of the bank and celebrate from the hill to that. Finally, it lands in the final day celebration lands on the mid of the river called Alagar, getting into the river festival. Like more than 1.5 million people attend on that, like continuously for ages. So what it signifies is there is a culture and a civilization which evolved, and there is a two pursuit of religion, right? One is Shiva based is a pursuit based. You have to keep chasing what you wanted.
Yeah.
Vishnu is surrendering based. You surrender it, he will take avatar and keep reflecting. He's a saint as a form, he takes different form. So you see the amalgamation at the civilization bank happen between two categories of Hinduism, or even for that matter, any religious stems, two different stems and branches. So it's a beautiful celebration, but it signifies so much meaningful. Why it is so meaningful is this particular festival not only amalgamates two school of religious beliefs, but various other beliefs participate. Muslims have one specific day to invite the God into the celebration. They wear new dress, they offer food. So it's intercultural, interreligious, interfaith collaboration there. And
Wow.
people call each other by relationship names. I'm talking different faiths. So that humanity sustains. When humanity sustains, then there is a possibility that civilization, outgrows all the shortcomings.
I mean, to be operating, like you said, this festival has been going on for 4,500 years.
The banks, civilization.
And people, you were saying people travel from all over the world
Yes.
every year to go and do this. So Sunshine, I think next May, it feels imperative for us to go and witness this. And, I gifted you a copy of my book,
Yes.
which is poetry.
Mm.
And you never mentioned this before, but there is a university there of poetry that was written 2,500 years ago.
Yes. So they give so much weightage to poetry because poetry is a science of what you do with words, which is visible, and sound, which is not visible. And you connect both and you create an art out of it.
Wow.
And that has transformed. When war was happening between two kings of Tamil kings, these guys, the poets, they were the mediators. They sing songs between both and sing songs of death or prevention of death and poverty and then try to stop wars.
Wow.
So they were the mediators those days.
The question is, currently, could poetry save Iran and Trump?
Who knows? Because poetry comes very deep from the humanity part, right? What is poetry? Poetry comes from enormous observation, attention to distortion. So when somebody is attending to the pain of the world, suffering of the world, where others are not looking at a very shallow level, that's why they can bring the whole human emotion in the form of word, which is visible, and sound, which is like combination of both into an art, and they can convince human being collectively.
Very, very interesting.
Yes. You can also take in any civilization, they have created the greatest bus, train, aeroplane, different evolution. Have you seen any greater poetry which is written 500 years back of one Shakespeare? Have you seen any better poetry than Shakespeare today? Why that evolution is not happening? Why somebody cannot beat a old once in that's an invention. That's why that itself is a science as an invention.
Well, look, today I got an invitation. Well, it wasn't an invitation, but I went to a place called Al Sakal. You know Al Sakal?
Al Sakal place, yes.
So the other day, as I walked around there, I walked past a building, and inside there was somebody speaking on a microphone. And as I looked from outside, this lady goes, "Go inside, it's free." And what they were doing inside there was people were speaking poetry, but it was poetry that people had written based on looking at the art in the room. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I made some really good friends. And as a result of getting the friends, they invited me to join an Instagram group. And on the Instagram group yesterday, they said on Friday at 7 o'clock, we're having a poetry evening. If you would like to come and speak your poetry on a microphone on stage, send your message. So this morning, I got a reply saying that we'd love to have you on stage this Friday to perform some poetry. So it's done a full circle loop to, I wasn't expecting you to mention
poetry as a connection.
Because I wrote a book of poetry 20 years ago, Sunshine, and 20 years later, I'm thanking my younger self to say, listen, man, I'm glad you did that, man. Because 20 years later, I have the book here, and this Friday, I'm going to perform the first thing I ever wrote, which was 20 years ago. And I remember when I performed my first ever poetry that I'd written, the next day somebody found me, a waitress in a pizza place. She said, "Were you speaking yesterday?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "I thought you're really good. Can you come and perform at my one next week?" So I went and performed at her one again for my second time. And somebody then saw me there and they said, "Can you come to Johannesburg and perform on television?"
Amazing.
So the third time I ever performed was my first thing I ever wrote, and I ended up on Africa Channel O on in Africa, which is a music channel. So part of me is thinking, right, you know what? This is something that is from the bottom of my heart
Ah, yes.
that I wrote.
Original self.
And 20 years later, I'm going to perform that first chapter, which is called Only the Truth Shall Prevail.
Okay.
So this will happen on Friday, and I'll probably get somebody to record it. So Sunshine, you'll see it, and everyone else who wants to see it, you'll get to see it as well.
Amazing.
So listen, Shakti, this feels like the beginning
Yes.
because I've only just met you today,
Yes, it's serendipity.
you know. So no doubt we will have another conversation.
For sure, we will look forward to.
But that's all for today. Listen, if you are not my son, like, subscribe, and all of that good stuff. Sunshine, this is your daddy in Dubai, day 109. Love you to the moon and back, Sunshine. And this is your daddy, and this is Mr. Shakti. Thank you for your time, sir.
Bye.
And we'll see you on the next one.